Good morning and welcome to PWR Today. It's Wednesday morning, June 17th, 2020. It's the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. You know, like Linda's told you the last couple days, there's nothing better than waking up with a little Meathead in your cup. Take that how you will. Linda had us talking about two girls in a cup yesterday and it threw me off, but we're just talking about a little Meathead in your cup now. Folks, make sure you're stopping by and giving us a like and giving us a subscribe on all the major podcasting outlets, including the Stitchers, the Spotify's, your grandma's podcast, wherever you're listening to, Apple Podcasts, Fight TV, Facebook, YouTube, all those places, wherever you listen to this very program and the other programs from the Pro Wrestling Report. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. You'll find out when new content is coming out. Now joining me, as he does every Wednesday morning, it's Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning. And let me add that I will gladly have a cup of Meathead in the morning as compared to a cup of Jeff Hardy in the morning.
That wasn't a cup. That was more like a vat. Almost. And again, Jeff, I really asked Jeff to check his diet, to maybe drink a little more water because it was a little dark. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I'm also really pondering the fact that, can a human bladder actually hold that amount of urine? I guess it's physically possible, but that was quite a bit of urine.
Have you ever been to an opening day in baseball season?
I have not had the honor. It is a big thing here. As it is in a lot of cities, but it's a big thing here in Denver with the Rockies. And I've known a few people that have. There's been some arrests spawned from opening day, but I personally have never been to opening day myself.
All right, side story. I know we're going to get into wrestling, folks, in just a moment. You say arrest at opening day. Now, I'm not bragging, but I'm just telling you the truth. Milwaukee County Stadium opening days at, County Stadium. Before it was Miller Park, and Miller Park opening days are still phenomenal, right? The first time I was arrested was at an opening day at County Stadium. Guess how old I was? Guess how old I was?
7 years of age.
16. For drinking under the age. And you joke about Jeff Hardy's, amount that he was holding. That was probably one of the beers I had. Oh. That was a lot. So what was really funny was I didn't know, for one, County Stadium had a holding cell. Okay, so County Stadium had a holding cell. I get thrown in there with the friend I got pulled in with. We were looking for another friend. Guess where we found him? In the holding cell.
See, that worked out so well.
So we're like, Wally, Ron, yes. What are you doing here? I was over drinking on the other side.
Well,
of the stadium.
And it sounds like, it kind of sounds like, hey, if we get separate, we'll just meet up at the holding cell.
Meet up in the holding cell. Get yourself arrested.
A good central location for you guys to reconvene. That's outstanding.
And because this was the 80s, shh, don't say anything. Because this was the 80s, guess how much my fine was?
Your fine was a Robin Yount jersey.
No, my fine was $35.
Oh, that honestly in 2020, that's a frickin' beer.
And after being released from the holding cell, I went back to the game.
You're missing for a little while. Hey, where were you? I just got arrested.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen in 2020 anymore, but 16-year-old me with all my mullet, in all its glory, getting caught drinking. How old are you? Not old enough. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't drive here. Well, come with me. Okay. Get in the car. Okay. Get on down there. All right. We're going to book you. Here's a ticket for $35. Okay. No more drinking. You can go back to the game now. Thanks, pal. And just move on about your business. Again, that's when it was run by the county sheriffs. Now the city of Milwaukee police run, all these security at the stadium. But I'm telling you, that would be literally you're being put on the news, all that other good stuff. Back then.
Yeah, no, that sounds like an arrest express.
It was an arrest express. Let's talk wrestling because we're not here to talk about how old Meathead was when he first got drunk and arrested.
Although I did kind of enjoy that part.
It was kind of funny. First off, let's talk The Undertaker, Chapter 4. Matthew, did you watch?
I did.
Quick thoughts before we kind of go into it in a couple segments.
Quick thoughts. every episode I tend to enjoy more than the previous episode. I said on the last show that the third episode was my favorite, and I think the fourth one, after I watched that, it was my favorite. So here's what surprised me as far as my actual visceral reaction to it. It amazed me the sense of relief I had in the portion when he was at the Mania. I believe it would have been 19, it would have been last year, where he was backstage and didn't wrestle. Like, I could breathe a sigh of relief much more so than I had been able to do in the previous episodes. Although I knew the Goldberg fiasco was coming, for that little while, when it dawned on me, oh, that's right, he did not wrestle at this WrestleMania. It was such a nice, just feeling of relief just to watch him backstage interacting with everybody and not having to go through what we've seen in the first 3 episodes of getting ready, being concerned if he was going to deliver, and then analyzing it afterwards. It
gives you a little bit of stress to watch that.
Yeah,
I mean, you feel a little anxiety.
Really does. It was the most stress-free episode up until we got to the Goldberg part, that I had seen, which, in the first episode that when you and I broke down the first episode, one thing that I pointed out was, I think I asked you point blank if you ever wanted to see him wrestle another match after this, because you take that journey with the character. And I mean, we've taken that journey with him for years, but now you are behind the scenes. And let me step that back. We've taken the journey with the Undertaker, but we've never taken the journey with Mark Calloway like we're taking now. So you get into that that character and you take that ride with him. And I mean, it really dawned on me in this episode what an empathetic journey this is taking many of the viewers on, when you do notice, wow, I'm relieved that he's not wrestling at this Mania.
He's making us feel it, which is, again, something that he's done for, 20 plus years. I will tell you, you speak about my exact favorite moment as well. So he's at WrestleMania. He's not working. He's in Gorilla, and he's standing next to Vince. And he tells a story about how Vince says, I need you at Raw tomorrow night. Vince, I didn't bring my gear. A pro always has his gear with him and is always ready. Literally, Vince was chewing him out right in front of us in the cameras. He was smiling, but he was chewing. I'm a professional, always has the gear right there. Now, we, as not people who travel across the country and the world to work, we think that, oh man, I got to run back home, go get my stuff and come back to work. That's an hour trip, right? This dude was in New York City. He lives in Houston-ish, right? Or somewhere in Texas. But this dude said, you know what? When he asked him on Saturday, I'll go get my stuff. I'll be right back. He flew home and he came back with his gear.
Yep. I got to run home real quick, which is a flight across the country.
I can't fathom that. I mean, but he did it. And then, he was dressed ready to go. And then Vince goes, you're not wearing that on TV tomorrow, are you? No.
It's dedication. And I want to add too, this episode also featured one of my favorite scenes so far in this series. A little bit of some levity, but when he goes and talks about how, he protected the character for so long, and only
passed
in the
on all this stuff.
Only in the last few years, as he started letting loose on that, and he got in touch with somebody who's handling his social media. It cuts immediately to a picture of the Undertaker holding a container of spinach. Yep. It's like, hey, Mark, you're going to love this, man. We got you this spinach company.
Yeah, we got you that spinach deal you've been working on, So. For those that don't know, that was Popeye the Sailor Man when he eats the spinach. Did you know that that's what I was doing?
Oh, yeah, I did, because, I mean, that's one of the only people, I mean, not necessarily because there was an instantaneous recognition of the tune, but because we're talking about spinach, I put those context clues together.
I'm kind of proud of myself for pulling that one out.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obscure. I got to give it to you. And I will add this as well. After that, I was so tickled with that last night. I did a little bit of Undertaker spinach research. Could not actually find that picture, but in my the deepness of the research that I gathered, I did find an Undertaker recipe for a turkey dish.
So you guys know that, listen to this program, and Matthew, you know this too. I usually come up with the title after we've done it. I think you just gave us the title, Undertaker Spinach.
Yes, indeed. That belongs in a marquee somewhere.
Well, it's going to be on the title of the PWR Today for Wednesday, June 17th. This is what it's going to be, Undertaker Spinach. Like I said, though, my favorite part was watching Vince really went into him. I mean, he's laughing and smiling, but Vince is being very serious. This is business. I need you for tomorrow night. You should have your gear. He came all the way back, got his gear, and that was when Undertaker came out and went after Elias to set up.
And I will add on this episode 4, we did have a guest appearance by one Hurricane Helms.
We did have him, and kind of rubbed the shoulders. This guy's embarrassed and moved on. Yeah, it was nice to see Shane Helms on there. I actually kind of laughed out loud as well while Undertaker's sitting like the Godfather in the hallway. He goes, and Triple H comes by, and you can't hear him, so they put the subtitles up there. You go and tape this shit in the hallway. People are going to walk past your shot, man. Come on. I thought it was funny. I mean, literally Triple H being, business, Rollins and everybody else walking past and saying hello. And, there's just Taker sitting in his lazy boy, just kind of hanging back there. So,
yep.
I was thoroughly entertained. And, a lot in this episode, a little bit in 3, a lot in this one. And the build to episode 5 is AJ Styles being around. And it's ironic that it went that way because now they're talking about maybe I should work with AJ Styles. AJ Styles in the back is regarded as one of the best workers in the game today. I mean, AJ Styles, hashtag dang phenomenal. We've been talking about AJ Styles for a long time. I watched him in WCW. That's how long AJ Styles has been around. I watched him as Prince AJ in TNA and all the other stuff that he was doing there when he was the X Division champ. AJ Styles is the real deal, folks. And to be honest, AJ Styles deserved it. He is the last person to make a big debut without having to go through NXT.
Absolutely. Royal Rumble 16, I believe it was.
Roughly, yeah. He came out and he was phenomenal right at that second.
No, and what a great, what a great move to shoot him right up to the top of the main roster. And he ended up winning his first title within that calendar year. I believe it was the September pay-per-view. It was a September 11th show out of Richmond, Virginia. My sister was actually in attendance at that show, which was AJ Styles' first WWE title win. Night of Champions, maybe. I can't recall exactly
Possibly
what pay-per-view it was, but yep, it was September the 11th in Richmond, Virginia, 2016. So they did what I feel was the right move and put that belt on him, within that first year. And we talked about it a few weeks ago as far as what you and I would both like to see for Taker's last match. And after watching this, and I'm sure after watching the next episode, where we're going to get the build to him and AJ, I keep going back to the fact that I think that Taker AJ Styles in an actual wrestling match in front of an audience, and not to take away anything for what they did at Mania. That was a fantastic display.
Mania was amazing.
What they did this past year. And I mean, I remember hearing it took something like 8 hours to film. I mean, it was a grueling physical process. But I think that last moment, most people, most likely Taker included, would like for that to be on a big stage in front of an audience. And I think AJ's the guy. He is somebody that, when Lesnar broke the streak, and on this very program, and it was where the conversation circled around to, I can't remember if it was with me or you or with, Damian and David discussing it, but the fact that, a lot of people, myself included, felt like Lesnar's defeat of Taker was wasted on somebody, which wasted seems like a funny word all these years forward, but on somebody that was already established. And the comment was made, something that big, you wanted to make sure it was done by somebody that wasn't going to be just a shot in the dark, be a flame that flickered out, too early. You wanted somebody established that had a little bit of lineage behind them. And I think the same thing needs to take place with Taker's final match. You could make the case of having it be against an upstart to try to make the upstart. But that legacy is so strong and that legacy is so large. I think it's got to be, yes, somebody that can still benefit from it going forward, but somebody that feels like they are deserving to be Taker's last match. And when you go and you look at a Michaels Flair, Michaels being, the epitome of the person that was the right guy for that job, I think as close as you can come to the company right now with somebody who would get that match out of Taker, it's AJ Styles.
I do remember the conversation, and the phrase we used to use is the steam, the heat that comes off of, that. Where would it go to? And we talked about how it went on to Lesnar, and we didn't really want it to go on to Lesnar because we thought it would get wasted. We saw what Lesnar used with it. Lesnar became the one behind the one. He became just the dominating beast. However, guys like Seth Rollins have beat Lesnar a couple times. So shouldn't that heat have transferred over to Seth Rollins? It hasn't. So when we do talk about Taker's last match, AJ Styles would be a great match to have. It's got to be in front of an audience, and it's got to be a real wrestling match instead of the Boneyard match. Boy, we've good discussion here about the Undertaker, and I can't wait to see the next and final episode in the 5-part series coming up this Sunday on the WWE Network. Let's do a real quick talk about AEW and NXT coming up tonight. Tonight on NXT, we ended last week with Adam Cole standing in the ring and the hourglass being brought out. Is the time almost up on Adam Cole's record NXT championship run? Is Karrion Kross coming after him?
You look at what they've done with Kross so far with the strong push they are giving him with that decisive victory over Ciampa at the last pay-per-view. I mean, it is a push that you don't see very often. You don't see somebody debut, go through enhancement talent, go through a guy at the top of your roster, and go right after the title. But I think it's time. I think you need that once in a while. You need this big monster that just blows through everybody. And I mean, you need something similar to a Lesnar, and not to get back on it too deep, but that was the thing that was so crazy, that was so unforeseen with the Lesnar situation, was after the Taker win, they quintessentially set the reset button on him, which they had not been known to do. You'd had pushes for people, but very rarely had you had somebody that was completely, the past was almost whitewashed, and they were completely presented as unbeatable. So, push him straight to the top of the card, have him undefeated. You don't see it often enough. So, it can still be important and feel special, if you go ahead, and seize that moment.
I think we got a lot of work to do on that, but I really think there's a chance that Karrion Kross may be the man to take down Adam Cole. We got some Karrion Kross news coming up this Saturday on primetime with Damian Nelson, Dave Hero, and the rest of the associates. The super show, the big show. I watched that show. There was so much content in there. I don't know if it was planned to go over, but dude, I was locked into that. I mean, it was a long one, but there was so much going on. You got, Jason Solomon, you've got Andrew Baydala, you've got Linda Kay, when Josh Chernoff comes back from baby duty, welcome to team back to front, or front to back again. Josh. But yeah, such a great show that we got every Saturday night right here on the PWR channels, if you will, all the podcast channels. Real quick, with AEW, we are going to have a tag team match coming up. It's going to be the tag team champions of Omega and Hangman taking on the number 2 contenders, the Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall with Brandy Rhodes. Lots of other good stuff on the line. Chris Jericho goes off on Orange Cassidy and beats him into a pulp. Those are 2 orange-related puns there because he beat him with a sack of oranges. Matthew, your thoughts on the star of Orange Cassidy and Jericho targeting Orange Cassidy?
That's what I love so much about this Jericho run. They're not afraid to mix him up with anybody. He took on Pineapple Pete a few weeks ago. And, I mean, AEW, they are giving you the people that you love to see interact with each other. It seems to be, at this juncture, no glass ceiling, just because Orange Cassidy is not skyrocketed to the top of the card, although he's at the top of a lot of our hearts. They're not keeping him away from your former champion. So, and that's the thing that makes one of the things that makes AEW so entertaining is you don't know who's going to mix it up with who from one week to the next. No, outstanding.
It feels like Flair used to do before, where Flair would mix it up with other guys in WCW.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge Orange Cassidy fan, a huge Jericho fan, especially this incarnation of Jericho. And my goodness, I mean, how well Jericho's star is translating to every member of the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is
part of a tag team called Les Sex Gods.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I love the cardboard cutout of him and Sammy a few weeks back. I mean,
Jericho trying to hold it together while Sammy's trying to sing along to Judas. Because Judas in my mind.
Yeah, it is just, and I think there's a certain part of AEW that there is that self-realization, the fact that they have a self-awareness to where they do not take themselves too seriously. And I think it is a better product for it. And it is, that's part of the AEW charm right now.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's been a lot of good talk. We're out of time, folks. I mean, we can, again, talk longer, but we are out of time. We're trying to put the little meathead in your cup. These are bite-sized, folks. You got to take them, consume them, move on to the next thing. You got Linda causing traffic accidents yesterday, talking about 2 girls in a cup. Well, here we're on Wednesday morning, Matthew and Meathead. It could derail you. You learned when Meathead got drunk for the first time at an opening baseball game. But, folks, make sure you're liking and subscribing, getting those podcasts delivered to you hot and fresh, kind of like a couple Folgers, like Linda says. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.